Thank you. They've got me all mic'd up. I'm not used to doing such. Glad to have you all here. I was told there probably wouldn't be many people in this kind of weather, and I'm amazed to see the turnout. Thank you. I have a number of things about the church that I want to tell you about. And I know a great deal about things, but I'm also going to read some things. I don't know this early history. Don't have it in my head, I'll put it that way. I had access to church history that was done by Maude Barber in 1989, and I'm going to use part of that. After the town of Saluda was incorporated in 1889, the Presbyterian families who had summer homes here began their own place of worship. In 1895, the church lot was given by a Mr. LeGree, and the building was completed in 1896. The Popes, Robertsons, Seabrooks, Richardsons, McGowans had a part in financing the building. Dr. Pope of Edisto Island had charge of the church as long as he came to Saluda. Afterward, he turned the building over to Miss Julia Kay Campbell. That would be Anne Spratt Wilson's grandmother, who still comes to Saluda, and Marguerite Hankins' great-grandmother. At that time, Mrs. Campbell was the only Presbyterian in the community. Reverend T.P. Hayes served the church intermittently from the time it was built. Reverend Frank B. Hankins of Kings Mountain Presbytery helped with the organization and its transfer to the Kings Mountain Presbytery. And today we're in the Western North Carolina Presbytery. In 1914, a number of Presbyterian families making their homes here permanently wished to organize the church. The commission from Kings Mountain Presbytery who came to assist were Reverend R.A. Miller, Reverend J.H. Hinderlight, Reverend R.C. Anderson, and Reverend F.B. Franklin. 12 members were received by letter and confession of faith. The charter members were Mrs. Julia K. Campbell, that's the great-grandmother of Marguerite, Mrs. Sadie S. Oldar, Frederick H. Oldar, Charlton H. Leland, he would be the grandfather of Nancy Barnett, senior, great-grandfather of the younger Nancy, and Mrs. L. Augusta Leland, I think she was his wife. Annie Leland was one of the children. Henrietta Leland and Richard Ernest Leland. Mrs. Lily Mae Richmond, E.W. Barber, and those of you who were here and knew Evangalena Barber, her husband Bobby, was of that family. Mrs. C. Lewis Newman and Mrs. J. L. Hart. And Mrs. Hart was the mother of Margaret Hart. Some of you I know are here that remember Margaret Hart. She died several years ago. And so Margaret Hart and Edwin Leland, and he's dead now. When she did this, he was not, were descendants of 2 charter members. And C.H. Leland and E.W. Barber were elected ruling elders. The first meeting of the session was held October 25th, 1914.